What if I told you some of the richest footballers alive once couldn't afford a football, a pair of boots, or even a t-shirt to play in?
It was the first ever time I left my village.
Like I never had breakfast when I was a kid. I saw my mom adding water to the milk. I just knew I need to start working. I told my mom, yeah, I'm going to play football for Endrick later, and you'll see everything is going to change.
I lost my mom when I was a very young boy. 3 months later, I lost my father. My father lost his job. I had to sell water in the streets of traffic of Lagos State just to survive.
When I was a kid, at 11, 12 years old, we don't have money. Very hard period without the family. Late at night, like 10:30, 11, we are a little bit hungry. So we had a McDonald's next to the stadium where we live. And we always go to the back door and we knock the door. Hey, any burgers left?
15. Sadio Mané.
I go to my family, I say, my mom, listen, school is not for me.
Is it unusual for a young person to go against a family like this?
It's unusual at all. And it was the first ever time I escaped. I left my village.
He was just a boy in Bambali, Senegal, kicking a ball made of rags because a real one was a luxury he'd never known. No electricity, no real pitch, just dirt, heat, and a dream nobody around him believed in. His father died when he was young, and his uncle told him to forget football and work the fields instead. He didn't listen. At 15, he left home quietly, with almost nothing, chasing one shot at an academy trial. Today, that same boy is worth $100 million, and he went back and built his village the hospitals and schools it never had. Next, a boy raised in one of the most dangerous cities in Brazil, Vinícius Jr. São Gonçalo, Brazil, is one of the most dangerous cities on earth. That's where Vinícius Jr. grew up, with almost nothing, playing on dirt pitches and second-hand boots. He dreamed of a Real Madrid shirt he could never afford to buy. Flamengo picked him up as a teenager. Real Madrid paid $45 million for him before he'd even played a real match. Now he's a Champions League winner, worth $80 million. Every time he scores, he points to the sky, for the kid who almost never made it out. Next, a boy from a slum who grew up to become a president. Number 13. George Weah. Claratown, Monrovia, Liberia. That's where George Weah grew up, mostly raised by his grandmother, in a country dealing with constant instability. No scouts, no academy system. Nothing was handed to him. He built himself into a football phenomenon through pure will, becoming the first and still only African player to ever win the Ballon d'Or. He didn't stop there. He ran for president of Liberia. In 2018, he won. A boy from the slum became the head of state, worth $90 million. Next, a striker whose mother had to water down the milk just to make it last. Number 12. Romelu Lukaku. Romelu Lukaku has talked openly about how poor his childhood in Antwerp really was. His mother would water down the milk just to stretch it through the week. The electricity got cut off more than once because the bills went unpaid. As a kid, Lukaku promised himself that one day his family would never have to worry about money again. He kept that promise faster than almost anyone in football history. By 18, he was a Premier League pro. Today, he's worth $80 million. That watered-down milk built an appetite that never stopped.
I remember the day like it was yesterday. Like I never had breakfast when I was a kid. My breakfast will be at lunchtime when I was allowed to go home from school. So I came home from school and I saw my mom adding water to the milk. And it was the same bowl of the day before. So that's when I knew. I just knew. I need to start working. I need to start working quick. And I was like 6. I didn't say anything. I just ate. But I understood that we were broke. I understood really quickly. I didn't say anything, but in my mind, then I came back and I told my mom, yeah, I'm going to play football for Endrick later, and you'll see everything is going to change. But that's really the day that I knew It's finished.
Next up, a boy who sold peanuts on the street just to help his family eat. Number 11. Samuel Eto'o. In Douala, Cameroon, young Samuel Eto'o sold peanuts and newspapers just to bring money home. Some nights the lights didn't turn on. Football felt like a fantasy, far away from his real life. But his talent was undeniable, and by his late teens he was already playing in Europe. He went on to win the Champions League 3 times and became Africa's all-time top scorer in continental football. Today, he's worth $95 million. The boy who once begged people to buy his newspapers is now the one making headlines. Next, a story straight from today's headlines. A Real Madrid teenager whose parents starved so he wouldn't have to. Number 10. Endrick. Endrick grew up in Taguatinga, a working-class part of Brazil's capital, in a home with almost no money coming in. At one point, his mother was unemployed and had nowhere stable to live, and Endrick and his siblings were placed in an orphanage in Sao Paulo just so the family could survive. His father had once dreamed of going pro himself, but an injury ended that dream early, so he poured everything into his son instead. Endrick has said plainly that he never went hungry because his parents skipped meals so that he could eat. Real Madrid signed him as a teenager in a deal worth around $60 million. Today, at just 19, he's already worth $15 million. Next, a boy whose own parents had to send him away because they simply couldn't afford to raise him. Number 9. Didier Drogba. Didier Drogba's family in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, was hit so hard by poverty that his parents made a painful choice. They sent 5-year-old Didier to live with his uncle in France because they simply couldn't afford to raise him at home. He bounced back and forth between 2 countries for years, feeling like an outsider in both. That pain built one of the most powerful strikers football has ever seen. Drogba became a Chelsea legend, worth $90 million today, and one of the strongest voices for peace in Ivory Coast's history. He's credited with helping pause a civil war just by asking for it on live TV. Next, a boy who lost his teeth to hunger, not to the game. Number 8. Rivaldo. Rivaldo's childhood in Recife, Brazil, was so poor and so hungry that he lost several of his teeth as a teenager from malnutrition. His family barely scraped by, and hunger was just part of daily life. Rivaldo went on to win the World Cup with Brazil in 2002 and the Ballon d'Or in 1999. Today, he's worth $75 million. Every gap in that smile tells a story most millionaires would try to hide. Next, a kid whose father sold goods on the street just to put food on the table. Now he's Morocco's captain. Number 7. Achraf Hakimi. Achraf Hakimi was born in Madrid to Moroccan parents who had almost nothing when they arrived in Spain. His father worked as a street vendor. His mother cleaned houses for a living. They raised Achraf in Getafe, a working-class part of Madrid, in a home where money was always tight. Real Madrid's academy picked him up at just 7 years old. He went on to play for Borussia Dortmund, Inter Milan, and now Paris Saint-Germain, winning the Champions League and becoming captain of Morocco. Today, he's worth $40 million. He said plainly that his parents gave up their own lives for him, and now he plays the game for them. Next, a boy who grew up next to one of the biggest garbage dumps in Africa. Number 6. Victor Osimhen. Victor Osimhen grew up in Olusosun, a neighborhood in Lagos sitting right beside one of Africa's largest landfills. He lost his mother when he was just 6 years old. 3 months later, his father lost his job. From that point on, every child in the family had to work just to survive. Victor sold bottles of water to drivers stuck in Lagos traffic. On weekends, he and his friends would search through the landfill just to find 2 mismatched football boots they could share. He slept at church some nights because home wasn't livable. Today, Osimhen is a Serie A champion and the highest-paid footballer in Turkish history, worth $40 million. From a landfill in Lagos to the biggest stages in football.
And where I grew up, my humble beginning was really tough for me. I lost my mom when I was a very young boy. And after my mom died, 3 months later, I lost my father. My father lost his job, and things were really hard for me and my elder sisters and brothers. And I had to sell water in the street of traffic of Lagos State just to survive. Me and my elders. It was really tough. I have to do all these things because I feel that football is the only hope I and my family have to survive, to live the better life we are living now. Because I saw my dad struggle through life, and while I was growing up, I think this gives me the orientation of the never say never what. I left home while I was a very young boy to sell pure water on the traffic of Lagos, and of course to do some kind of job like cutting the grass, going errands for some people, fetching water for some of our neighbors, just to get a little money for me to feed and for me to help my sister with.
Next, a bus ride that changed everything. Number 5, Mohamed Salah. In the small village of Nagreg, Egypt, Mohamed Salah's family lived a simple farming life with little to spare. Every single day, teenage Salah made a brutal trip, nearly 3 hours each way, just to train with a club in Cairo, getting home after midnight before school the next morning. No car, no driver, just buses and pure determination. Today, Salah is a Premier League champion and arguably the greatest African player of his generation, worth $140 million. Every time he scores at Anfield, somewhere back in Nagreg, that 3-hour bus ride finally makes sense. Next, a story from the projects of Marseille that ends with a World Cup trophy. Number 4. Zinedine Zidane. La Castellane, a housing project in northern Marseille, known for poverty and unemployment. That's where Zinedine Zidane, the son of Algerian immigrants, grew up playing football in concrete cages, not on real pitches. His father worked as a warehouseman just to keep the family fed. Nobody in that neighborhood expected a World Cup. Nobody expected a Ballon d'Or. But Zidane didn't just make it out. He became arguably the most elegant midfielder the sport has ever seen. Today, he's worth $120 million, having won the World Cup, the Euros, and the Champions League as both a player and a manager, from the projects to the podium of history. But number 3 is the youngest name on this entire list, and he's already a global superstar. Number 3. Lamine Yamal. Lamine Yamal was born in Barcelona to a Moroccan father and a mother from Equatorial Guinea. He grew up in Rocafonda, a neighborhood in Montero where about half the people live below the poverty line. His parents split up when he was 3, and money was always tight. Yamal has said his father used to go out and pick things up off the street just to bring home food for the family. Barcelona scouted him at just 6 years old. By 15, he was the youngest player to ever debut for the club. By 17, he was helping Spain win Euro 2024. Every time he scores, he holds up his fingers to show 304, the postal code of the neighborhood that raised him. Today, at 19, he's already worth $15 million, and that number is climbing fast. Now the final 2, and number 2 sometimes couldn't even afford a bus ride to training. Number 2, Ronaldo Nazário. Before the world called him the phenomenon, Ronaldo Nazário was just a kid in Bento Ribeiro, a poor part of Rio de Janeiro, who sometimes walked long distances because his family couldn't afford training. His mother sold ice cream from a cart to help make ends meet. There were real moments where quitting football for a steady job felt like the smart choice. He didn't quit. Ronaldo became the youngest World Cup winner of his era and won the Ballon d'Or twice, becoming one of the most explosive strikers to ever play the game. At his peak, he was worth well over $160 million, a staggering distance from that ice cream cart in Bento Ribeiro. And now, the number 1 story on this list, the poorest childhood, the biggest fortune. Number 1. Cristiano Ronaldo. Funchal, Madeira. A cramped house with no heating and shared bedrooms. The family was so financially strained that Cristiano Ronaldo's mother has openly said she once considered ending her pregnancy because they simply couldn't afford another child. He grew up in a tin-roofed shack in one of the island's poorest neighborhoods, sharing one room with his 3 siblings. His father worked as a kit man for a local club, and that was young Cristiano's only way onto a football pitch. Nobody in Funchal was dreaming about Ballon's door. They were worrying about dinner. Today, Cristiano Ronaldo is the richest footballer alive, worth over $1.2 billion, 5 Champions League titles, 5 Ballons d'Or, more career goals than anyone in the history of the sport. The boy his own mother almost couldn't afford to bring into the world became the most famous athlete on the planet, from empty stomachs to billion-dollar bank accounts.
When I was a kid, at 11, 12 years old, we didn't have money. Look, my family, 3 in 3 months was hard, so very hard period without the family. Later night, like 10:30, 11, we are a little bit hungry. So we had a McDonald's next to the stadium where we live, and we always go to the back door and we knock the door. Hey, any burgers left? And Edna and 2 more girls, which they are unbelievable. I never find the girls again. I speak with some people in Portugal to try to find where is the girls, because I don't find. And I hope if this interview will help to find that girls, I will be so happy, because, you know, that period was a period that I was appreciate so much.
Cristiano Ronaldo, Joshua would like to know, what's the biggest key to your personal success?
It's hard. Of course, talent without work is nothing.